On the next worksheet, let's look first at recursive formulas. These are formulas that have an x on both sides of the equation. In this case, x equals 1 divided by x plus 1. To solve this, we can come over here and treat E5, the cell that we're looking at, as though it's x. So x, or E5, equals 1 divided by E5 plus 1. We hit enter, and it solves that equation. Likewise, on the next one, we can say E6 equals the cosine of E6, and it solves the equation for us. And again, for the square root of x plus 5. We tried to do the same thing we did above, and it doesn't work. Why? Well, the divisor is x, and so the first value it's going to pick up will be 0. It's going to go divide by 0 and throw an error, and immediately it quits. I can't solve this. So there's a couple of ways we can get around this. We need to have a seed cell, so I'll put a 1 in here to begin with. Then I go into a cell just below or to the right of it, and I put in the formula equals 5 plus 1 divided by, and I use the seed cell E9. When I click enter, I get a result. Coming back now to the seed cell, I will set that equal to the other cell, and we have the results of the formula. We can solve this in one cell by using an if formula. Let me come over here and say if the cell I'm in, C10 in this case, equals 0, then put in a seed. We'll say 1. It doesn't matter what it is. Otherwise, put in 5 plus 1 divided by C10. And close off our parens, and we've solved it in one equation. Let's move on down to the break-even analysis equation. Here we have a formula, the price times the quantity minus the variable cost times the quantity minus the fixed costs equals 0. That will be the break-even quantity. Now we could have changed the formula in another way and solve it for Q, but here if we just take and say put VC times Q plus FC on both sides of the equation, we get PQ equals VC times Q plus FC, and then divide everything by P, we get the following equation. To solve this, let's look at here. We simply said take, and I'm just going according to this equation, the variable cost C24 times the quantity, that's the cell we're in, E26, plus B24, the fixed costs. Divide all of that by the price, and we have the solution. And we've solved for Q. Moving down, we'll now solve for simultaneous equations. Here we have two equations, 3x plus y equals 9, and 4x plus 7y equals 11. Well, I can solve for x in the first, divide both sides by 3, and I get x plus y equals 3, and then subtract y from both sides, and I end up with this x equals 3 minus y. Solving for y in the second equation, I subtract 4x from both sides, and then divide everything by 7. So 11 minus 4x divided by 7. Let me delete these two and solve it together. So in this case, x is E39. X equals 3 minus y, which is the next cell down, E40. And y equals 11 minus 4 times x. X is 39. And all of that is divided by 7. I hit enter, and those equations are true for x and y. when x equals 3 1/3 and y equals a -1/3. Now let's try solving these three equations below. Try the first one and see how you do. How did it go? Did you get the answer 2.791288? Let's try doing it together. Equals square root of, I'm in B44, plus 5, and I get my answer. Let's try the next one. See if you can do this with the single cell if statement. Note that x is the divisor, and I would get an error otherwise. What answer did you get? Hopefully 1.55961. Let's try doing this one together. So equals if the cell I'm in, B45, equals 0, then let's put in a seed, it doesn't matter what it is, and then the equation. B45, and we've got our results. Now try the third one. Were you able to get 4.15262? Let's do it together. Great. Good job. Let's go on. Here we may be picking a random sampling for audit purposes. Notice first of all, I've got this cell called lowest, this the highest. The lowest and the highest invoice values, perhaps. Here, this whole area is called random numbers, and this one is called duplicates, or dupes. Notice the formula. If dupes is not equal to 0, then give me a random number between the lowest and the highest. If it is equal to 0, then just give me whatever's already in A1. The formula in B1 says, count if, under these random numbers, how often we find whatever is in A1. And dupes simply says, give me the sum of B1 through 15 minus the count A of B1 through 15. So let's have this insert that for us. And it keeps iterating new numbers until duplicates is 0. We have a random selection between the lowest and the highest number here. We could redo this, or if we have a tighter constraint or we want more numbers, we may have to hit F9 a couple of times before we get over that 100 iterations to have it be true.